Everybody say read aloud, say read aloud, say R-E-A-D, aloud, R-E-A-D. Everybody say read aloud, say read aloud, say riggedy, riggedy, read aloud, riggedy, riggedy, read aloud. All right, tonight, guys, I'm going to read In Momma's Kitchen by Nadine Nolan, illustrated by Colin Bootman. In my mama's kitchen. First in line. Seems like everything good that happens in my house happens in my mama's kitchen. Like the day Nadine burst in waving a letter over her head. "I got it," she yelled. "I got it." "What?" I shouted back. "What did you get?" Nadine held the letter over her heart and closed her eyes. She read the whole thing without even looking at it. "Dear Miss Jeffries, I am pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to our university on a 4-year music scholarship." We did a dance around Nadine. Mama and Daddy hugged each other real tight. Then Nadine got out her clarinet and played Daddy's favorite song, "This Little Light of Mine." Daddy sang up a made-up song about Nadine being the first person in our family to go to college. "This little daughter of mine, first in the family line. This little daughter of mine, she's made it to college time. This little daughter of mine, first to be in line. Going to college, see her shine." I felt so proud I stood on a chair and saluted her. The wedding. My friend Naomi made all the plans. We held Emma's wedding in the sunniest part of Mama's kitchen, right under the window. We marched her down the aisle between Mama's African violets. Janie was supposed to be the groom, but she squirmed and meowed and wiggled out of her wedding clothes. Then she hid behind the stove. We had the reception anyway. Tea cakes and ice-cold buttermilk. The groom came back when she saw the buttermilk. Look at the cat. That's the groom. Talking pots. On the Saturday Mom and her sister do talking pots day, I stayed close by. Aunt Katie, Aunt Gloria, and Aunt Ludi always arrive together. Each one is carrying the biggest stew pot in one arm and shopping bags in the other. The bags Aunt Ludi carries are all full of vegetables. Aunt Gloria's bags are filled with meats and sausages, and always one odd-shaped package on the top. We all know what's inside, the biggest soup bone in town. Aunt Katie's bags hold extra cutting boards, knives, vegetable peelers, bowls, and spoons. She pulls them out, then she holds up Granlee's metal coffee pot. I'll make the coffee. In moments, every hand is busy. Nadine and Mama are washing vegetables when Mama begins to hum a melody that has no words. Then Aunt Ludi joins her in a deep, low tones. Aunt Katie and Aunt Gloria chime in with high-pitched harmony. The air is full of humming. Their hands are flying, and I think they look like hummingbirds. Just as easy as the music started, it turns to talk. "Remember the time you told me the insides of the human body smell like fresh pineapple?" Aunt Ludi asked as carrots peelings fly into her bag. I got laughed right out of 7th grade science class that day. "Remember how Mama always bragged about the way I chop onions?" says Aunt Gloria as her knife chunks on the cutting board. "Always meant so nice and fine and never a tear," she sighs, shaking her head. "How about that time you made my Easter dress on the sewing machine, Nell?" Aunt Katie, seeding tomatoes, says to Mama. Not one of you had the heart to tell me the hem was 4 inches longer in the back than it was in the front. I couldn't figure out why Reverend Taylor looked at me so funny when he shook my hand. All the day the kitchen is busy and full and cozy. Even the African violets are blooming, just like my aunts. Great Aunt Caroline. When Great Aunt Caroline came to spend her 95th birthday with us, Daddy was glad. I wasn't. "Why do we always have to be so quiet around Great Aunt Caroline?" asked Mama. "She's very old," Mama said. That didn't seem like a very good reason to me. Great Aunt Caroline wasn't used to cats, so Janie had to sleep in the basement. Great Aunt Caroline wasn't used to children underfoot, so Naomi couldn't come over, and Great Aunt Caroline always sat in my chair and called it her chair. She was still sitting there while I cleared the table one morning. Henry, her walking stick, rested on her lap. I figured she was watching to make sure I did a good job, but by the time I finished, her eyes were closed. She sat completely still. It didn't look like she was even breathing. Had she died? I held my breath as I leaned over to look in her face. Suddenly, she opened one eye, just like Janie. Boo! She shouted. Gotcha! I made you look! Ha 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 ha! Later, we went for a walk. She called me her walking out to the backyard friend. Janie's apples. Every October, Mama made crab apple jelly. I wash the apples, Nadine peels them. Mama cooks them and we fill the jars. It gets pretty busy, so usually Janie hides behind the stove. Usually, but not this time. This time she marched into the middle of the kitchen and jumped on top of the baskets of apples. Mama shooed her, but she wouldn't get down. I put her on the floor, but she jumped right back up and rolled around. Shoo, Janie, I scolded, and batted an apple, then another and another. I think she thought the apples were mice. Just as I reached down to pick her up again, she batted one mouse too many. The basket fell over, and the apples came crashing down around her. Apples rolled all over the floor. I tripped and fell right on top of Janie. Janie howled. Mama dropped a pot of water. Nadine screamed and grabbed for the mop. But by then, Janie was frantic. She ran around the kitchen, but she kept running into apple baskets. She knocked every single one over. Then she slid through the puddle of water, crashed into the wall. Just then, we heard Daddy at the door. Janie scrambled to her feet and let out a wild meow and flew outside right between his legs. He stared after her, then he stared at the mess in the kitchen. Finally, he looked at the three of us. Cat got everyone's tongue? He asked, and we all burst into laughing. Corn pudding time. Most of the time, we say the kitchen is Mama's, but when Daddy makes corn pudding, it belongs just to him. At the first crackle of the falling leaves, he announces, "It's getting to be corn pudding time." As soon as the first frost covers the ground, he rubs his hands together and sniffs the air. He says, "I can almost smell that corn pudding cooking up right now." By the time the pumpkins have all become sagging jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkin pies, Daddy has taken over the kitchen. Watching Daddy make the corn pudding is a lot better than actually eating it. While he turns the handle of Mama's old-fashioned egg beater, he sings La Cucaracha and dances the cha-cha. While he sifts and stirs and measures and mixes, pours and pinches, he sings and dances the tango right across the kitchen floor. He says as he slides the corn pudding into the oven. "This is going to be the best one yet." Then he picks me up and we twirl and swirl around the room. Corn pudding has never been a favorite dessert of mine, but when Daddy presents it at the dinner table wearing that smile of his and humming "Glory Hallelujah," having to eat it is worth it. Winter and Gran Lee. In winter, when I come home from school, the warm kitchen fogs the window. I hug Mama from behind, and she says, "Hello, sweetie potato pie. How was school today?" Then she drops a taste of peach cobbler into my mouth, and peach juice dribbles down my chin. "Stand close to Gran Lee and warm the shivers off," she tells me. Then we talk about the day while she stirs a pot of greens, turns to frying chicken, and mixes a bowl of cornbread batter. Chum, 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 chum. Mama's wooden spoon scrapes against the bowl, but before she can put the cornbread into the oven, she jiggles and shakes the door handle. "I don't think I'll remind Daddy that the handle's still broken," she says to me. I smile. Gran Lee was Mama's stove, and she doesn't want a new one. Neither do I. Nighttime serenades. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I wake up. When the house is dark and quiet, I can count the ticks of the clock. 493, 494. I go to the kitchen for something to eat. Sometimes Daddy and Janie are already there. We sit and snack together on whatever we like. Sometimes we make sandwiches out of leftovers and have ice cream and cookies. We giggle and munch and try not to wake the others. We talk in whispers and we make big gestures. But Daddy isn't all that good at being quiet. Clang, bang! A lid falls on the floor. Soon Momma and Nadine are in the kitchen too, and Daddy doesn't have to whisper anymore. Now that we're all here, how about a story? Daddy asks. Then he starts on the way he always starts. When I was a little boy down on the farm. After the story comes songs. Daddy calls them serenades for sleepless nights. We sit around the table talking and singing and laughing, just like that's what everyone does in the middle of the night. And when I finally start to yawn, I know for sure that everything's good that happens in my And when I finally start to yawn, I know for sure that everything good that happens in my house happens in Mama's kitchen. The end. That was called In My Mama's Kitchen by Nadine. All right, guys, have a good night. Sleep tight.